There was no physical activity. There were no social interactions, and the fear of sickness per se. All these stressors also attributed to precocious puberty. And in COVID and post-COVID, it has decreased down to even below 8 years. So there is some kind of increase because of this.
I think over the years, as you know, early puberty in girls has become more common. And what my experience was, people came to us so late because they were scared of visiting doctors' clinics, going to hospitals.
Hi guys, thank you for joining me on Table Talk once again. It was a trend that was first noticed in Italy. Then there were rumors and whispers coming out of Turkey and then onto Indian shores. Has COVID landed up causing early puberty in girls? Is there a connection? There is a rising trend, really. What is going on? Do scientists have answers? Do experts have answers? Do doctors have answers? I'm going to be joined by two specialists, two doctors.
It's not just anecdotal ki, I know of a few cases where I'm hearing 8 saal ke bacche, 9 saal ke bacche, 10 saal ke bacche, who are now reaching puberty. And then there was the fascinating connection ki ye Turkey mein bhi hua hai, and this is something that Italy saw as well, and India is another country. So, kuch COVID connection through your research, through your findings, have you been able to come to anything?
So there are a lot of factors that are speculated कि ये COVID के कारण हो सकता है. So it is not just directly because of COVID, but we've been seeing in more than precocious puberty, it is the obesity cases that are coming in, overweight children. And this leads to precocious puberty in most of the cases. Now, COVID में क्या हुआ? स्कूल जाना बंद कर दिया, एक्टिविटीज बंद हो गई, स्क्रीन टाइम बढ़ गया, स्लीप टाइम ऑल्सो डिस्टर्ब हो गया. तो all of this, the sedentary habits, the junk food intake because of the increased screen time and because of more time spent at home, all of this led to obesity. And obesity is the precursor in quite a few cases to precocious puberty. You know why? Because obesity leads to increase of leptin hormone. एक leptin hormone रहता है जो fat cells में रहता है. If it increases that, if the leptin hormone increases, that somehow triggers the sexual hormones, the estradiol as well as the testosterone. And this obesity is seen more in girls. तो COVID से ऐसा relation है, because of the obesity, there has been an increase in precocious puberty. COVID has been seen कि directly affect भी कर सकता है to leading to precocious puberty by way of changes in the body, something एक olfactory bulb करके region रहता है, that gets inflamed and that can lead to precocious puberty.
Or are you also seeing these kind of cases, though, young children coming to you in your clinic?
So we've started seeing children even before COVID. They started by 8 or 9 years. That is a norm now. And in COVID and post-COVID, it has decreased down to even below 8 years. So there is some kind of increase because of this, because post-COVID and during the COVID, but it may be a 3-fold or a 4-fold increase.
Dr. Archana, I get you here. You're the specialist in the issue. That there are so many different aspects to this. So I'll just jump into first the obvious one, because I really want to know COVID se koi relation hai ki nahi?
There's no proven relation, as Dr. Shah said, but yes, I think over the years, as you know, early puberty in girls has become more common. So let me start with what is early puberty. It's the onset of pubertal changes before 8 years in girls and before 9 years in boys. And early puberty is more common in girls, it's very rare in boys. Although the age of puberty has gone down a little worldwide, but that's not significant. They usually have delayed puberty. And one of the commonest factors for the age going down is better nutrition, higher BMI. Now, as Dr. Shah mentioned that because of COVID, she's mentioned all the factors already, maybe some contribution of those who were affected by COVID, but there is no clear-cut answer except for the that we know all these may contribute to early puberty. And it is postulated that maybe this was the cause, the increase in the BMI, screen time, the lifestyle change. Also, I think in our country, we saw a lot more after COVID because people were not visiting doctors regularly. And what my experience was, people came to us so late because they were scared of visiting doctors' clinics, going to hospitals. So some of them missed the boat in terms of their growth, unfortunately. So that was the only thing, but we saw a huge spurt because people who had been indoors for 2 years, they all appeared almost at the same time. Worldwide increase was reported, and these are all theories basically, and no good answer, to be honest. The age of, like I said, and mostly all the changes are in females, the significant changes, not so much in males, because early puberty is more common in girls, far more common for, it's about 80 to 90% is girls and only 10% are males. And there are multiple factors. Most important is genetic factors. So if the mother has had her puberty early, the daughter is likely to, and that is the best correlation. But if we see in India, we are seeing the mothers had their periods later, and daughters are going into puberty earlier because we are not a fully developed country. The Western world went through this phase a couple of years ago, and now when this better nourished population is having their children, their daughters, they're following the mothers. Here we are seeing little bit of it, but still we are not considered a developed nation, as developed as they are, and that is one of the major causes, the increase in the weight, which could be better. It could be poor nutrition also, obviously leading to obesity. It's not necessarily good, but that is the main cause, and the genetics, and then environmental factors are there. So again, for all the environmental factors and what we call as endocrine disruptors. Endocrine disruptors are chemicals which are added to all kinds of, creams, and, they're added to plastics. And so these affect the endocrine hormones also. Then the other question I'm asked about all the time is milk and non-veg food. So in the Western world, they do, give hormones, but they're in the safe range. But one thing is that there is estrogen, the female hormone, is stored in fat. So if you have a very healthy animal, for whatever reasons, you may get more estrogen. And if you're eating too much, same is true for milk. But we don't have to stop drinking milk or stop eating non-veg.
So kids have started using cosmetics at a very early age. Most of the kids, because mothers are also using it, kids are exposed to those kind of cosmetics, and cosmetics have a major, if not a major, but they have a role to play, I think, in causing precocious puberty. So even 6-year-old would be applying a lipstick, maybe a nail paint, all glosses and glitters and everything. They are used to all those kind of things, and they want to look beautiful. Even a 6-year-old. So I think even that contributes a lot. Like in our generation, we hardly used all those cosmetics at a very young age.
Is there, there are 2-3 aspects to the precocious puberty. One is, how do you gauge it? Secondly, what are the methods? Is there any way to correlate it in terms of, fixing it temporarily? Can it be stopped? Or what is it that you as doctors tell your patients?
So between 6 to 8, a lot of girls will enter puberty. Anything before 6 has to be investigated completely with an MRI because puberty is controlled by the pituitary gland in our hypothalamic pituitary area in the brain. So anytime there is early puberty, we have 2-3 concerns. Number one, why did it happen? Is there a problem? Second is it going to cause any harm? So early puberty basically results in short height. Otherwise, it has no other problems related to it. It does not affect the fertility or the, periods or anything later on in life. So height is the main problem that we face. Anyone less than 6 years has to be evaluated in great detail. Between 6 to 8, it is common, and a lot of girls will start early but progress very slowly. The pace of puberty is slow, and they will have their menarche, which is the first period, at the right time, and they will not lose out on any height. So only 50% of these girls, or maybe even less than 50, maybe 30% of girls who present to us with early puberty actually need to be treated. The rest, we just need to keep a watch on them. The ones who need to be treated are those who are going to end up being very short.
So you see the changes that are seen in puberty. So one is the earliest appearance in the girls is of the breast tissue. Then comes the phase of pubic hair and the axillary hair. And then finally comes the menarche, the onset of menses. So again, I think it has been seen that though the breast tissue develops early in precocious puberty, it's not necessarily that the menarche does develop early. As you said, it might be a very slow progression. So finally, the adult height would not be affected. Other than the physical changes that are seen, and other than that, the adult height would be shortened, I think there are a lot of psychological issues also that children face, because they tend to grow up early and they kind of want to fit in that age group where normally the puberty starts. So a 8-year-old girl might be wanting to fit in a 12-year-old age group.
Actually, that also causes problems of fitting in, right?
Yeah.
I mean, at that age.
Yeah.
Because the mental age doesn't change, right?
Mental
It's
age
a small
remains the
child
same,
in
yes.
an adult body, actually. And also the risk of, abuse goes up in these girls. So one has to be very careful, because their minds are of a, 8-9-year-old only. They don't know what's happening to them. So one has to be a little careful about that too, as a parent.
About awareness of this issue. I mean, Dr. Archana is in Delhi, so, it's a bit of a metro setup, different thinking. You are in Jabalpur. It's in tier 2 towns across the country. Is there awareness
Not
on what to do?
Not much. In fact, there is not much awareness about obesity also. So when parents come with their children for minor illnesses, which I normally see, so cough, cold, loose motions, and those kind of things. And one thing that you notice is the child is obese. And when you kind of tell them that your child is obese, they're not ready to accept even that the child is obese. This is a very hard reality, actually. And there is one more thing, people kind of consider that watching social media, watching porn, or watching any other kind sexually explicit activity also makes you prone to precocious puberty. But it is not that way. There are no studies again which have proven that watching such things would lead to precocious puberty. It is because of basically increased screen time and finally leading to obesity, and that leads to precocious puberty in a lot of people.
When it comes to early puberty, can it, when it's really early, do you reverse it for a little while? Is that possible?
Yes. So you can stop the process of puberty by suppressing the hormones which are responsible for the changes. So in girls it is the estrogen, and in males it's the testosterone hormone. So this is through an injectable preparation. There is no oral preparation for it, and there are various kinds. There are 4 weekly, 3 monthly ones. Usually now 3 monthly is used more often because it's less stressful for the child, and that will suppress the hormones. So it will stop the breast development in the girls. They will not have their periods. The uterine enlargement will stop. It will reduce the changes a little bit. They may not disappear completely, but you put the puberty on hold, and along with that, there is something known as a bone age that we check for. So a child's growth as well as puberty, they follow their bone age. So how do we determine a bone age? We do an X-ray of the left wrist and hand, and normally an 8-year-old should have a bone age of 8 years. Now, if an 8-year-old has a bone age of 10 years, that means that they may be tall, their height may be of 10 years, but the bones will fuse faster and you stop growing. So it is the sex hormones, the estrogen and testosterone, which push the bone age ahead, and they cause early fusion, and that's why these children end up being short. And that's why parents get late coming to doctors, because these children are taller than average. They're actually tall, so they're very happy that my child has such a good height, and they don't visit a doctor till they actually stop growing and the bones will fuse, and it's too late for us to help them at that time. So the treatment is aimed at suppressing the features of the early puberty, the sexual characteristics, and holding the bone age so they can have a normal height. And once they reach the normal age of puberty, which is about close to 11 in girls and 11 and a half in boys, then we stop the treatment and the puberty will pick up again from there. and the treatment is very safe. It does not have any effect on fertility, etc. And there are studies till the next generation, and they have not found any major problem with the treatment. But
Just going to ask.
we don't have to treat everything that can be treated. But the hair growth does not get suppressed with this medication. The pubic hair and underarm hairs, etc., those things may continue despite treatment. But all in all, it improves the height and basically so.
Is the treatment, expensive? I've read somewhere that, the shots are expensive. How do you make it more accessible, to society?
It is a little expensive, no question, but the prices over the years have gone down. They're not as expensive as they used to be.
What is the trend that you're seeing? How young are your clients?
Some of them come very late to us, unfortunately. Although it's a lot better because the children are tall, so they're not worried about the height. But majority would still come late, and the later they get, the less is the benefit of treatment in terms of height. We can suppress the puberty even if they come at their periods. One can suppress the puberty, but the height benefit will not be very good. So the earlier you visit your doctor with the problem, the better it is, which is true for any growth problem. The later you come, the less benefit they'll be able to get if it's needed, of course.
So what's the average age now? What is like the right age for puberty now? Has that been redefined?
Yeah.
8 to 13.
It's less than 8 years in girls and 9 years in boys. The main concern in the younger kids is what if they have a problem with the pituitary gland in the brain. So that's standard worldwide.
What is considered the right age?
It's 8 to 13 years for girls, the right age of puberty, anywhere from 8 to 13 years. And 9 to 14 years in boys. But again, precocious puberty, as Madam had said earlier, is more common in girls than boys.
Pinpointed to COVID and lifestyles, because I think girls and boys both had the kind of similar losses and lifestyles.
But but in the males they didn't find that change. That's what I'm saying, that they don't. In males, delayed puberty is a lot more common. Delayed puberty is very uncommon in girls.
What would you tell your patients if they come to you with concern?
So when they come, we tell them, if they're within that 6 to 8 years in girls, we tell them that it is early, it's not normal, but it's very common, and we will evaluate and see that if there's no pathology and there's no effect on the height, we will just keep a watch and follow up these children. For males less than 9 years, we have to evaluate fully, and we need to, once we know that the origin of the puberty is from the brain, then we need to do an MRI in every child. In girls less than 6 years, MRI is mandatory. Between 6 to 8, it's an individual, we go through the history and then the child. So we need to do ultrasounds also for the girls to look for any cyst in the ovary. We have the growth of the hair, which is also a part of puberty, the pubic hair and hair in the underarm axillary hair, that is controlled by a gland called the adrenal gland. So we have to evaluate the adrenal hormones also. So there are a couple of things that we check for, and then when we know that this is just a normal puberty, if it's rapidly progressive, we are losing out on height, then we consider treatment. If not, then we just keep a watch to make sure that things don't go wrong during the process of puberty. There's no acceleration during. So with 1 year of treatment, we get about 1 to maximum 1.5 inches of height extra. So if I have a child who's come, has started at 5, they would probably end up having, and if they come right away, they would be able to have a height which is normal for the family. It's not that they're going to be 5'6" or 5'7" or something, but they will achieve a height which is normal for their genetic potential. Parents are sure the children are not going to be too tall either. So that's a different subject altogether. So, but we aim to that they should have their target height, get to that.
Dr. Shah, final question. Are parents willing to get their child treated?
Yeah, most of them are. Unless the cost can be a concern for a few, but most of them are willing to shell out money for the treatment because they don't want children to be short-heighted. And it is the height that is of major concern in precocious puberty that is lost. And hence, literally all parents are willing for the treatment.
The psychological impact, which I spoke to Dr. Shah as well, how do patients handle that? How do you tell a family to handle it, in terms of their child?
if we are suppressing the puberty, I don't think we have much of an issue except for the child complaining that we are giving injections. And I do feel bad about it, but there's no other choice that we have. There is no oral preparation available. And in those who do not need treatment, sometimes parents do feel that why don't you treat this child? She's going to have her periods at a young age. She's young, but most of them can handle it. If we don't need to these injections because we are not looking at get the height is normal anyway. So I think they do pretty okay. I've seen young girls who don't need treatment or they're too late for treatment. We can't help them with their height. 9-year-olds, 9 years onwards, they do fine in Delhi at least. They're well aware of things in this city. But yes, it could vary from the, from town to town and the family setup, etc. Definitely.
In this whole
no, I think my message here is that everybody should visit their pediatricians at least once a year, so these problems are picked up, or their physician, whoever is taking care of the child, so that these things are identified early. And if they notice anything abnormal, they should not keep waiting that sab theek ho jayega. That's a very common thing that, oh, it'll be okay, let's wait and watch. Wait and watch is not a good policy for anything to do with growth, actually. The earlier we, identify problems, the better will be the outcome.
Thank you both so much for joining me and taking the time out and, just sharing all this information and bringing it out there, because like you said, there are no scientific correlation to the whole COVID thing, and it's a bit baffling anyway. But there are other issues, and of course, the typical issues of, is it the non-veg, is it the antibiotics in the chicken and the meat that the children are consuming, why, so many questions. But I think at the end of the day, just better to just head to your doctors who are sitting right here and get their wonderful opinion. And Dr. Archana and Dr. Shah, thank you so much for joining me and just informing and being very informative about the issue. And I appreciate you both taking your time out. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thanks.